Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Joel Cohen. He lives in Wisconsin, and I'm saying Wisconsin funny because I did live up in Appleton back in the day when I went to college. You say hi, Joel?
Hi everyone, how's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic day. And yeah, I love the virtual background here and obviously enjoying Wisconsin. So
Oh, yeah. How was the, I'm just blabbing here, but how was the weather up there compared to, you hear all the news
it,
about what's happening in the Southeast?
it's been an actually beautiful summer here in Wisconsin. Can't complain. I know winter's around the corner for anybody who lives in the northern states. So taking advantage of the sunshine for sure.
Well, that's good. For the listeners, Joel and I connected on LinkedIn. I think we had some other people in connected with us, but I like Joel's positivity. He's trying to make people feel better about themselves in a situation. Can you it's like a little background of why you started doing this, Joel? I think it's really kind of cool because he and I talked previously before just to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can start in a variety of ways. Do you want me to talk about the topic of my background or do you want to talk about positivity?
Let's start with positivity.
So, positivity, I really felt happened a couple years ago. And honestly, you've heard the saying, readers are leaders, right? So, I don't know why I challenge myself, but a lot of us all have New Year's goals. So, my New Year's goal for January 1st, 2019 was to read 24 books in 2019. And to give you a background or perspective, I had read 15 books the previous 15 years. And
Wow.
like any goal in life, you got to break it down into bite-sized pieces. And I figured, the average book is probably 200 to 300 pages. If I want to read 2 books a month, well, then I'm going to need to read 10 to 20 pages per day. And once I started reading, that's exactly where the positivity came from, because I will reference a book here called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. If you have not read that, I highly suggest it. And it talks about a morning routine. And once I started realizing, you can plan your day or your day can plan you, and really taking advantage of my mornings and my morning routine, that's where my positivity started from. Then I became actually obsessed with motivational videos and YouTube videos, motivational speakers, and all of that. And that came from reading, that came from bettering myself. And then it became a habit. And then it became a mindset almost, so where I feel like out of balance if I don't have that structured into my everyday. So positivity started from a goal, then it started from reading, then it went to motivational videos, and now just been incorporated into everything that I do every single day.
I love that. And how did you choose the books that you're going to read? Were they um, referred to you or you just found them by accident? I'm just curious because I love books too.
Yeah, I started, there was a list. So I used social media at first and I said, hey, look, I'm working on bettering myself. Does anybody have some self-help books or recommendations or whatever? And then once you get the initial list, it's surprising that you'll find a lot of the books will correlate to another book, or they'll reference another book, or they'll write a segue for a book. And then once you start talking about the books and how passionate you are, you'd be surprised how quickly books get added to your list very, very, very quickly. And almost so where you find yourself like geeking out, whether it be in a bookstore or a virtual bookstore, because you know exactly what book you want to read next.
Well, guys, now you know why I connected with Joel because we're both love books, we're both book nerds. I'm not, but that's a good thing, right? And like you said, you
Yeah.
learn from that what you're reading and then you try to apply it in real life. And then it's just like a domino effect. And I think it's so cool. And what you mentioned, the Morning Miracle book, I have become good friends with Honor Recorder, and she helped Hal Elrod with this book. Isn't that interesting? um, what a small right. I'm gonna make sure she listens to this. Um, so this is really cool what you're doing. And so why did you want to bring more I guess, structure to your life a little bit and positivity to something. go on prior to this that you felt lost or something? Or a lot of people get that way. I shouldn't say lost, but like a purpose, trying to find a purpose.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head at the very end is the purpose, right? And sometimes they always say, like, you take a step backwards to take a step forward. And for anybody who doesn't know me or my story, I had 6 figures in student loan debt, and it was impacting every situation, every aspect of my life. And it's a matter of how do you turn the negative upside down, or how do you do it, or how do you take motion to go forward? And that's kind of where I started. And I started with the passion to basically try to get rid of debt as best I could, right? And I started taking massive action. Well, when you take massive action, you start to feel positive about yourself. You start to have a better belief. You start to believe that you can do more. And they always say, surround yourself with 5 to 7 people and you're going to be like them. Well, here's the thing for anybody listening. Let's just say you don't have 5 to 7 people who motivate you or you talk to on a daily basis. Guess what I did? I turned to YouTube. I started finding motivational speakers, and they became my 5 to 7 people. And whether I saw them on a daily basis, they saw me, and they might probably to this day don't know who I am or how they benefited me. And maybe this video will benefit you, but just understand that after every storm cloud, there's a rainbow, right? And it's a matter of what are you going for in life, and not to always stay in the short-sighted focus, but really look out in the long term, right? In the next 5 years, 10 years, a question I always like to ask people is, where do you see yourself in 1, 3, 5 years? You know, and if you have a plan, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose, you know you're going to get there. And I think a lot of people can realize that a lot of times you got this plan or focus, and guess what happens? You have an obstacle. You have something that gets in your way. And guess what? If you don't have that plan, vision, or focus or laser focus, you're going to be stopped by that obstacle. And you're going to wonder, why did I stop my New Year's goal from working out? Or why did I stop my New Year's goal from reading books? Or why did I stop my New Year's goal from waking up earlier? Why did I stop my New Year's goal from financially getting to where I need to be? It's because you're not disciplined and you don't have that attention or big time focus. And really that is what drove me, is basically my why to get out of debt. And along this, I learned that process. I learned that journey, whether it be through talking to people, reading books, listening to Audible, listening to stuff on YouTube, or surrounding myself with people. But really, it comes down to vision. So there you have it.
I like that. That's a really good summary. And you're a great example. A lot of people have a lot of student debt these days. And I think that you found a way to get out of it. You didn't feel sorry for yourself, right? But you knew you had to get out of it. So a lot of the topics I've been talking about this year have been like related to COVID, right? How did that made me like, whoa, pause too. Everybody had to pause. But what was your takeaway? What did you learn from COVID? Did it accelerate your reading maybe, or?
Yeah, it really came down to discipline. And my word that I felt like I used in 2020 was pivot, right? So back before this pandemic happened, I was a store manager. And basically, through my perseverance and all that, I was able to leave my current store manager job within 11 months for what I'm able to do today. And I'm like, awesome. I can finally go meet people in person, because I had built my whole business on social media. And then we had something called a pandemic, and I guess people just didn't want to see me face to face anymore, right? And we got all locked up, and you're like, Joel, now what are you going to do? And I took to social media, in particular one platform, and I strive to build on there. But here's the thing, that platform went to junk. My organic reach, my algorithm, my reach out, just it went bad. And I don't need to name names here, but basically with the platform, it became very political, and it became one side versus the other side and all of that, and just not a friendly environment. So then I had to look to different social media platforms, and I had to pivot. I had to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and I had to go through a tough decision, because I had spent years building on that platform, and obviously I had to pivot. I couldn't build in person, but I wanted to continue to move forward and provide for my family and get rid of that debt. So obviously I shifted to a different platform, and really there's nothing wrong with pivoting. If your success track does not go up in a straight line, that's fine. Because a lot of times it's those zigzags, those pivots, those audibles, which are going to make you stronger for when you get to your end goal. And the biggest thing I also realized during the pandemic, for what we would say, is one, having a vision of where you're going to be when we come out of this, and the discipline and the focus, and to understand that audibles are going to happen, and how do you handle them. Life is not about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to respond and how you choose to act. And if you very clear or have clarity on your vision, again, these obstacles like a pandemic shouldn't stop you from moving forward.
Right. You definitely have a perfect fit for this podcast, which is about resilience and adapting, because you have to do that in life. And I love your perspective. And like my issue, what I learned in the past was I had been I call it slapped in the face a couple of times with cancer. Right. And you're like, and my goal was to get through it, to be there for my boys and my husband, my family. But I had to have people help me, surround me to, what's the word? Inspire me. You know what I'm saying? You need that support, and we all have good days and bad days. And I think your authenticity helps. And I think that's what makes you stand out. You're not faking it. Is that the right word? Back in the day that, they say fake it till you make it. And I never really liked that phrase. I'm sure you've heard of that phrase. You do have to start out, but then it's focused on your skill set. And obviously your skill set is connecting with other people and lifting them up. So you had mentioned, like, we didn't get into the specifics, but your business, you had to go more online and you pivoted to a different platform. Are you a coach? What is your exact business that you do?
Well, the irony is I started building on social media before I was with my current business, right? And I was building on social media because I just found a genuine need for helping people. And I realized that I have a background in improvisational theater. I enjoy live videos. I enjoy helping people. And I realized that I also have an MBA in brand marketing and corporate finance, that I had an ability to help people on how to brand themselves on social media. And the irony is, if you asked me a decade ago when I graduated with my MBA, if I'd be helping people on the social media platforms, when at the time we only had MySpace.
Right.
And actually, if I tell people that the company that I worked for and back in the day competed with Amway, I'd probably be laughing. No way could you expect that. Just like you mentioned cancer, probably a decade before you had cancer, I bet you would have never thought that you'd go through this at that time. And life's going to throw you curveballs, right? And it's a matter of running with the punches. So that's kind of a quick nutshell. If you'd like me to give a brief synopsis of my current company, I'm happy to do so. But yeah.
Yeah, I would like that. I would like to learn more too, what it is people are listening. And if they don't need your service, they can, listen and refer you to somebody else. That makes sense.
Yeah, and all due respect, I'll tell you what I do. So a while back I had basically helped this guy with coaching and social media and branding and all that. And for when he joined the current company where I'm at, and for 6 months, this guy was basically in my inbox asking me to join him in business. And I'm like, hey, look, like, you just have some weird looking bottles. Like, I'm all set. And I blew him off. Why? Because I had a social media coaching group that I was helping people. I had a store manager job. I had 2 boys under the age of 2, and I had a happy wife, happy life. I just had no time to look at this current company. So I blew him off for 6 months. And I finally watched the overview. And what the overview told me is that the toxins in your home are equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Right.
And that struck a real chord for me because my grandfather died of lung cancer. I've got a form of asthma. And it came from the products in our home, such as Tide and bleach and Lysol and Dawn dish soap and Crest and Pert Plus, all these products that we used every day, and we just had no idea. And I'm like, wow, I need to go toxin free, not only for myself, but for my family. We need to have better products in our homes. And I was just completely ignorant of it. And then I asked him the $1 million question. How much money did you make in your first year with this company? And he tells me $300,000.
Wow.
Almost fell backwards. I'm trying to pay off student loan debt. I blew him off for 6 months. He basically was in my inbox every single day. And the product and the opportunity were underneath my nose because I had a blind eye to it. So I started building with them. And then the very next day, it took me 11 months to walk away from my store manager job. And as you heard earlier, I went to start building in person, and that rejected me. So because of the pandemic, and I had to pivot, I went back to where I grew my following. And then that had obviously turned upside down. So then I had to pivot again, and I went to a different social media platform. But I had perseverance, I had grit, I had a vision, I had a why. And the irony is this: if I don't pivot to that new platform, we don't connect. We don't have this podcast. We're not on this video. We're not on this live stream. And a lot of times when you pivot, life can actually be better than it was on the other side. Your life can actually be better because now I get to help educate people. I get to help people with their social media or their branding. I get to help educate them on toxins in their home. I get to help families earn an extra paycheck from their home and from their convenience and the nooks and crannies of their day. And that's kind of what I do. So I love just helping people. And obviously, if you want to know more about it, I'm going to leave the company name off for other purposes, but feel free to let me know. I just help people go toxin free, just like what we did.
And as you were talking, it made me think of like the toxins. Everybody says cancer is genetic, but it's really not. It is your environment usually, and your lifestyle can activate something. And from my background, they believe because I was exposed to like radiation as a child, but I was a military brat. I was around military bases. People don't realize all that, back in the day. My father was in Vietnam, and he died from like Agent Orange exposure later, not right away, but he could have exposed us to it. That makes sense. And so it's amazing how that gets in there. And I'm always all about, like, even though COVID is here, I think if you focus on your lifestyle, that might help a little bit too. Keeping yourself, that makes sense, healthier, that will help. I'm not saying you're going to prevent getting sick, but it helps your body heal or boost your immune system. And another thing I've thought about talking about all these change management is probably really important these days. There's people who are specializing in that. It sounds like you're kind of touching on that as well, helping people make pivots in their life and change management is important because a lot of people don't want to change because of the fear, or they don't understand, and everybody has a different reason and the background of why they can or can't do something. So it sounds like you're helping them figure it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is really cool what you're doing. And you'd mentioned you had 2 young sons, and so they're obviously not in school yet. How old are they now? 3, 4?
They're 5 and 6 now. So
Wow.
time passes. Yeah.
Right.
They both recently had some birthdays. So it's kind of crazy how quick time flies, and before you blink, it just flies. It really does.
That's amazing. And I think about the future too for the kids. We want to make sure it's good for, the environment as good as we can make it for them. And I really like the fact that you found that books helped you find a way, right? Get your way out of it. And that's so important. And I really think, I'm just saying this just because my background is in printing and publishing, you should consider doing a book because of what you've learned. And as you should use some different stories. I don't know if your clients would be open to that, but why not, right? Or at least on your personal story. I think it's this really great perspective. And one thing I was writing notes as you're talking is you look at the long term, right? I think that is important. A lot of people make short-term decisions. I'm guilty of that in the past. I think we all do that. And I just think what you're doing is very helpful. And I just still find it so cool. I think you had reached out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how we connected, but I think what made me say yes is I saw that you're from Wisconsin. um, and my husband grew up there. He grew up by Green Bay. And by the way, people who aren't looking at the video, the audio version, what is the lake behind you? What is that? Which lake is that?
Oh, for what, like the company, or how did they
Oh,
go find more information?
your no, your picture there. You got the lake view behind you. Is that a lake?
Oh, the lake. Oh, yeah. This is the chain of lakes here, about 45 minutes from where I live in Wisconsin. Absolutely beautiful during the summer. This picture was just taken from my iPhone on the boat. So it
That's
just gives
cool.
me serenity or peace in mind of remembering the beautiful state that I live in.
Right. It is a very beautiful state. And I like again, the openness that you're sharing. And like, by the way, people who don't see my background, it looks like I'm outside, but because it is about real things living. And real things is, to me, I think you should fit in your lifestyle what's important to you. And I love being outside in nature. And that's another thing we have in common, books and nature. And that always, when I'm feeling blah, I go outside. So I'm assuming you do the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
It's so
Absolutely.
it's so calming, and I always say that. I'm not sure where the term came from, but I always say nature's therapy. It is, and that's real important. So, Joel, where can people learn more about you? Where can they connect with you? I know you're on LinkedIn. Is there any other place they can find you?
I mean, obviously, I'm on Facebook. I can provide my email, but really, that's just the best way to get a hold of me, through LinkedIn or that. And obviously, I know I talked about toxins, and the world really is about the more people you help in life, the better your life becomes. So, if anything I had said earlier today, whether it be through perseverance or reading books or grit or going toxin free or earning an extra paycheck, whatever it may be, let's connect. Let's have a chat. Let's have a cup of coffee. You know, I'm here to help you. And that's what it's all about, right? So,
Or have a Zoom call like this, right?
yeah, exactly. We could do that too.
That's cool. Well, for those that are listening, in the summary of this episode, I'll have Joel's links in there, or his specific to his LinkedIn page and Facebook. And Joel, I really appreciate your time. And I think it's unexpectedly, you mentioned Hal Elrod book, Morning America. I think it's so cool. Thanks again for your time.
Oh, thank you. And anybody who got value out of this, you know, we appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to make it to the very end. And though we haven't met in person, I greatly appreciate it. And if you find value in this or want to let anybody else know about it, feel free to do so. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking your time today to listen in or watch.
This is so cool. Have a great day, everybody.